All right, here we are. Third annual Battle in the Bay 7-on-7 Association Circuit, the Bravery Tour. I am Taylor Barton, the owner and founder of the 7-on-7 Association. Here with my longtime friend Brandon Huffman, national recruiting editor of 247 Sports. I will let him talk, and I almost guarantee you it's going to be something about travel, first class, Hawaii, Florida, might throw it. There will be some backhanded stuff, but we'll get to that in a sec. My other guest is Anthony Herrera, based down in the San Jose, California area, head coach at Leland High School. We'll let Anthony introduce himself, say hi, and then Huff will turn it over to you. Anthony, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you guys for having me and joining me or letting me join you guys. I'm Anthony Herrera. I'm the head coach over at Leland High School. Been working tirelessly to do everything I can to help organize a great event for you guys down here in San Jose, California. We're going to be hosting the event over at Wilcox High School. And we're also throwing a little bit of girls 5-on-5 flag football in there too. So I'm excited about everything we got going for this event.
There you go. Well, Huff, I don't even think you and I need to be on here. Anthony just literally dropped the entire ABC block for us. So,
With
Anthony,
that,
thank
I'm
you. Man,
out.
yeah, we're out. Let's go. Party time. Huff, how you doing? Another week, another dollar, another trip. This is for you flying and airports and traveling is the standard year round. So where are you at, my friend? Are you it's like landing in the water and you don't know which way is up and down. Are you in about that moment right now?
Hey, the day before I fly, we don't make jokes about landing in the water, given
Mm.
that when you land at the SFO airport, you literally fly over water. And if I land in water, there were going to be even bigger issues. But no, it's been weird. I have not been in an airplane in, I don't even know how many days it's been. It has been
It's
almost,
it, but the funny thing is, it's
almost
shaped.
17 days since I've
Yeah.
last been in an airplane, but I did go down to Portland last week or Vancouver. So I have only had 2 weekends this entire calendar year where I have not been in a hotel for at least part of it.
Um,
So yeah, we are, and I'm on the road every weekend now until the end of May. I was telling you guys off the air. I've got 8 flights between now and the end of May, and that doesn't even count the crazy June circuit, which starts on August or June. I don't even know what that is. Which starts on June 1st, the Avery Strong Showcase in Tacoma. If you guys are,
and you just proved the point right there about where all our minds are right now, this time of the 7-on-7 circuit and season. I say my brain is like just pudding right now. It's just
yeah.
I don't know. I literally every day I wake up and ask my wife, my kids, I'm like, what day is today? And we're in, okay, so it's Tuesday and we're in April. Yeah, okay,
Well, then
gotcha.
my daughter's been on spring break all week, so then that's kind of thrown me for a loop because the routine of like taking her to school the 2 days a week that I take her, and then my wife takes her the other 3 days. It's just everything is all just out of sorts. So I need her to get back to school and get me back in my normal spring routine.
Well, we're gonna hop into this tournament and some football, but we've had some interesting goings on the last week or so, and it really it's interesting because it just kind of gets you in that mind state of reflecting and just thinking on things, and it's really interesting. We're in this industry where every kid is being slept on, every parent thinks their kid is being slept on, and every program coordinator thinks they're going to be the next guru. Every trainer thinks they're going to be the next guru. Every media person gets in and they're, throwing all this out and they're going to, innovate and revolutionize this and that. And it's really interesting though, because I watch these guys, Huff, come and go. And it's so interesting because you said it in what you were talking about earlier. You're looking at the calendar and you're like, I'm gone, I'm gone, I'm gone. I'm at an event, I'm at an event, I'm at this, I'm at this. And everywhere you go, you know all of the players in this industry, they know you. So obviously there's been communication there. And I'm not gassing you up. I mean, look, I'm one of the few that likes to kind of chop you down when everyone, we talk smack, we're friends. But like the real is this was work, like when you're out there for people, they're at these tournaments and it's like this is my job running events. This is your job covering these kids. And we work, and people don't see the behind the scenes, how much goes into this. And I know that's, all these different jobs, but I just mention it because some of these media guys that are coming in and it's like this, and they, create a new star system and every kid is a, 6 star. And it's like, man, but you weren't at this, you weren't at this, and then you came out to this for 5 minutes, and then you did this, and it's just like shortcuts and all that. So it's a really interesting time, that parents and kids are very confused right now because recruiting services and invites to camps and showcases and 7-on programs and tournaments and events. It's really gotten watered down throughout the industry. For every good person you see in it, there's probably an equally bad person that's in it for the wrong reason. So I think it's even more important that people, I think we're kind of consolidating things, with programs, with circuits, with everybody, and just trying to make sure that we do it the right way. So not to go off on a tangent, but it's really interesting. And I know you and I have had talks about this and have a different perspective because we've been in this so long and have seen people come and go and jump in and try and take shortcuts and have a little bit of a flair and then just are gone. So respect to you though, because I say in any industry, so anyone that's been in industry a long time, I automatically have respect for it because it means that they figured it out and obviously they're good enough to stay doing it because otherwise you'd get exposed. But to stay at the level you have at the top of the game for as long as you have and be doing it, I think better than you ever have right now is props to you, bro. And it's always an honor to call you a friend and to have you at our events, have you on this. So now that made you feel really good about yourself, let's hop into this and watch you just butcher kids' names and have it wrong and all this. So anyway, let's jump into it. We got the third annual Battle in the Bay. We've moved it around a few years. Really excited to have it at Wilcox High School this year in Santa Clara. Beautiful venue, 3 turf fields. Super excited for people to show up and see the vibes there. We've got a good list of teams. It's not our biggest tournament numbers wise, but we have some teams traveling in from different areas, different states, one coming from the Oklahoma, Texas region. Got all the age divisions going, and we even have our first ever girls flag tournament jumping in those waters. We've been watching it for a while, so it's going to be fun to get in those. Anthony, we'll talk on it in a little bit, but Huff, let's start out talking Bay Area. Let's talk about a team and a program that is one of the headliners in the Bay Area, Paula. Go ahead and talk Paula, talk some of those kids. I know that's a program you're very familiar with and have a good relationship with that crew.
Yeah, this was actually at their event a few weeks ago in the East Bay, Paula, which was the team that 5-star, speaking of the Bay Area, Jaren Kiabe Slongapolotele, who was the MVP at the Avery Showcase last June, was the quarterback for Paula last year. And this year, their quarterback is out of the state of Utah. Kepa, who helped American Fork into the state championship game last year. They've got players from Hawaii like Isaiah Chong, Taimani Purcell, Kamehameha is a top 5 player in the state of Hawaii. And then they've got Northern California guys, Jadis Lucky, as well, guys from Stockton on up. So a lot of good talent there. Not quite a Jaren at quarterback this year, but still some talent. Keep in mind that there was one former Paula quarterback who took his team to the college football playoffs last year in Mad Dog Madsen for Boise State, and then a potential first-round draft pick who took his team to a New Year's Six Bowl 2 years ago. Jackson Dart is also a Paul alum, so they've been a nice little heater of quarterbacks these last couple of years.
It's interesting that you see programs that have kids coming from different areas. How does that come about? Is it somebody living in an area and then they move? Is that generally what you see? Because I know there's several programs that do it. Paula is one of the more high profile ones that is based out of a few areas, or is it just, hey, got the homie over here and so we're connecting and linking up kids to just have a well-coached program? How does that come about? Why has that become a dynamic? And I know Paula has done it for a while like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, you've got a reputation of cranking out good players. The year that I think it was the COVID winter was kind of when they really emerged. They were just coming off Jackson Dart's senior year, where Utah was one of the few school or few states that played football that fall,
Oh,
and
that's right. Yeah.
his stock blew up. So then that following spring, they were beating a lot of top teams at Pylon. They beat Fast Houston, which had a guy named Travis Hunter on their team in Pylon, with Maddox Matson as their quarterback. They had a couple of receivers that one went to Stanford and going to BYU. They had another guy, Harrison Taggart, went to Oregon. Now he's at BYU. But Stu and Maury, they also had Raleek Brown on the team at that time. Raleek is now at Arizona State, was at USC. So Stu Tua, he's from the Bay originally, but he lives in Utah. Maury is in the Bay, but he's got ties to Utah. His son's at BYU. So they've kind of had, and then he's originally from Hawaii. So they have ties in kind of the Bay, Hawaii, and Utah, and they've got a reputation of winning tournaments with some pretty good players.
Those are three pretty good hub areas when you talk about talent and recruits. Bay Area, Utah, and Hawaii. Anyone on its own can put some teams together to go win tournaments. You put those three together, that's a trifecta if I've heard of one. All right, let's we started out with a program close to the venue, the site we're doing. Let's go almost as far away as you can. Let's head over east to the Texas-Oklahoma border. They call it Texoma, out of Durant, Oklahoma, C4. We got Sean Cooper bringing his program out to high school teams, and they are absolutely loaded, and over the years have sent so many guys on, 3 stars, 4 stars, guys that have signed with A&M, Notre Dame, Florida, Oregon, USC. So they're national. These are not kids that are just recruited regionally in their area. They're coast to coast. Sean Cooper is phenomenal, does a really good job as a trainer with this facility and all these kids. They came out to LA a few years ago. Last year they came to Portland. This year they're coming out here. They're tying in a bunch of college visits with it. I know they're excited that they have some kids that are going to pull in some new offers as they go do those visits. Have talk a little bit about C4 and Coop and some of those kids.
Yeah, they've been just kind of dominating that area, that market. In terms of the players from the Tex, I think what they call it, Texahoma, is kind of their home base. But Sean Cooper's done a fantastic job of really expanding and getting some elite players, and they're getting recruited kind of all over. You've got Colton Yarbrough, who's a 4-star. We saw him last year, committed to Arkansas. At one point, I think he was the #1 player in the state of Oklahoma. You've got Rylan Morris, who's committed to Baylor. You've got Camden Capehart, who's a fleet of foot, speedy Mississippi State commit. You got Adam Moss, who's committed to Arkansas. Kenny Golston, who's got offers kind of from all over. And then he's really excited about some of the underclassmen he's got. Keem Golston, Graydon Howell. So a lot of good talent that he's going to be bringing out, and that's pretty exciting to get to see those guys. And I always like just seeing kind of the geographical reach of these events.
Yeah, and I think Coop does a good job when you're running a program. Your kids are going to get recruited primarily or first by the schools in your region. So to get outside of it and go attack it, and not just go do tournaments, but go and do visits while you're taking the trip to go do those tournaments. And Coop has done such a good job. In LA, went to SC UCLA, and Portland went down to Oregon, Oregon State, Portland State, and now he's getting out and seeing all of the schools in Northern California at the different levels, because you also have kids at different levels. Yeah, it's fun to go to Oregon, but how many kids are actually going to get an offer from Oregon? But you get to Portland State, now you up those odds a lot more. So,
and I think he had like half a dozen of his players get offers from Portland State when they went to Portland State last year. And I think it's about being realistic too. And we talked about, the three of us talked about this kind of off the air before we started recording, just like being realistic. And that's kind of to touch on your point that you had at the beginning of the podcast, TB, about this being realistic and let it have fun. You're not going to go out and win $1 million on a 7-on-7 tournament. You're not going to go out and get 40 offers on unofficial visits. It's a part of the process. And it was funny because Nick Saban used to get skewered by people that used to get tired of his catchphrase, trust the process. But there really is a process to all this. Being smart and tangible and logical with the process, you realize that that process is going to cause you a lot less pain than not having a plan and just thrown out. And I think that's where Coop does such a good job is that, hey, we're going to go see a USC. They're going to recruit the best of the best. We're going to go see an Oregon. They're going to recruit the best of the best. We're going to go see a Portland State. You're going to have a better chance here. And we may have something in between too. And I think that's about being realistic about kind of what your focus is going to be when you're attacking the recruiting process is being realistic.
Anthony, you're a head coach in the Bay Area. Talk about your perspective. Now you've seen the 7-on world grow, and so where it used to all go through high school coaches and they would have the most say, all of a sudden it started becoming a lot of the trainer 7-on programs. And I think a lot of high school, I know a lot of high school coaches fought it early on and didn't support it. And some did, some were kind of ahead of the curve, and now you kind of get a mix of it. And now even a lot of high schools are trying to have their own team and building those up. So you kind of see the pendulum swinging back. But talk about the perspective from a high school coach's standpoint of how you see the 7-on world and these trainers and programs.
Yeah, for me, I see it as a very beneficial thing, especially because if there's any opportunity for a player to go out there and showcase their ability, that to me is the biggest thing, right? I think sometimes in the coaching world, we kind of get caught up in ego, or this doesn't apply to real football or something like that. And in all reality, as a coach, I'm going to run to the coaching and make sure that we're coaching our guys to do the things that we need them to do out there on the field. Now, when it comes to their recruitment process, if there's anything you could do to get more eyes on you and to get you out there and be seen, especially for guys that are underrated or even guys that, have the offers and stuff like that as an opportunity to get even more, I'm all for it. I think that by limiting opportunity to be seen, you're limiting the opportunity for what the player could eventually become throughout their career. So I've definitely seen a growth in that, especially from coaches where they become more accepting of the 7-on-7 stuff like that. But I personally think that if a player can get an opportunity to go out there and showcase in any ability, whether it's an actual showcase combine style or a 7-on-7 where you're competing and trying to win a championship that way, I think there's nothing but benefit from that.
And Anthony brings up a great point. I remember having this conversation in 2013, and I was at St. John Bosco, and it was the week in TB. You were still coaching the I don't even remember what you were calling the Northwest teams at that time.
I think it was part of the football. It's real simple, yeah.
And in fact, it was the weekend after the legendary, infamous Snoop Dogg All-Star Brawl in Vegas, where I see Ross Bowers all the time out on the road in the Bay Area, and I remember him tweeting, "I just saw Snoop's team get into a fight, ha ha ha." And it was like typical Ross Bowers type of tweet. But I remember going to St. John Bosco a couple of days after that, and Josh Rosen was the quarterback for St. John Bosco and the Snoop Dogg All Stars. And he was asking me about the fight and all that, but he got into it and he said, he had just been at Oregon, at the University of Oregon, and it was Mark Helfrich's first year as the head coach, and he was at a coach's clinic. And he said that there were some coaches giving him grief, like, how are you letting your guys go play 7-on-7? This is, totally different than the high school model. And he said, listen, why would I tell my guys don't go spend the weekend throwing the ball to each other and getting my receiver and the quarterbacks on the same page? Well, that was in March. 9 months later, St. John Bosco beat De La Salle for their first state championship in the CIF State Open Division game. And it wasn't long after that, about a year or two later, Bruce Rollinson and Mater Dei started to have their own 7-on-7 team. And I remember they had a 7-on-7 team. It had Quentin Lake, who's the starting safety for the Rams. You had Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's one of the best receivers in the NFL. You had JT Daniels, who was a high-level quarterback, Brew McCoy, and they were all in the same high school team. Well, shortly after Mater Dei had their own team, they won their first state championship. And so you started to see a correlation there where these guys are developing chemistry. And yeah, we all know that recruiting is not done just based on the 7-on-7, but you're getting reps. You're getting the opportunity to compete. You're getting the opportunity to get out there and get that work in, to get the athletic movement. And it's why you're seeing so many more teams and more high school programs being more open and amenable to this, because they realize my guys could be doing something completely different and stupid, but instead they're out here playing football, and they're at least competing, and they're doing something that's going to keep them out of trouble and keep them, entertained, keep them engaged, and get better at football.
Well, can you imagine going to New York City and telling a kid, "Hey, don't go to the park and play basketball. Don't go play pickup games. Don't go." They're working on their dribbling, their shooting, their defense, just their game. Now, there's a difference between that and like the and one circuit. And I think that's the image a lot of people had in 7 on as it got, to a point where, frankly, some programs did kind of go to that in circuits. And I think now you're seeing, again, mentioned the pendulum kind of swinging back where people are getting back to, look, this started out about reps, development, competition, and fun. And then it started getting into something else. And that wasn't driven by the kids, that was driven by the coaches and the guys who wanted to peacock around and have a trophy in their background on a Zoom or whatever it is. And that's awesome. I'm all for winning and competing. But I like, most importantly, like, we should be about the kids, and for the kids it's about going out and getting reps and developing and let them go compete and have fun and get better because they're getting those reps. And if I'm going to have a quarterback that's going to make a mistake against a coverage and misread it and throw an interception, I'd rather it be in a 7-on tournament in April where he learns and goes, oh, okay, that's what that coverage, that's how that safety baited me. Okay, well, then in the fall that mistake doesn't happen if it's done the right way. So that's where I see both sides of it, frankly. But I see more and more people pushing to want to do it the right way, and the wrong ones getting weeded out. And in fact, just this week, we banned a program from our circuit. We caught them cheating. We have a lot of checks and balances in what we do. And catching them cheating, we ban the player for life. We ban the coaches and administrators for life in the program. And it sends out a message to people that, look, if you're thinking about doing this and putting a kid down on a younger age group to try and win, or doing whatever we've seen people do over the years, don't do it. Just look, if you're going to lose. That's okay. Like, we've all lost. In fact, every time I've gotten better, it was from a loss or from failure, and I came back and improved on it. I took accountability, learned, and you go. My son was 2 years younger when he played his first flag season. And we'd get in the car, and some games he didn't really play. He didn't have a great coach that played all the kids, and he wouldn't play, or when he did, he wasn't good. And I said, I'd get in the car, my wife would get mad at me, but I go, son, you're a liability right now. You're not good. You're the worst player on the team. That's all right. You're the youngest, but watch and learn. And see that you got to get faster and stronger and develop technique, and then you're going to get older and get better. And then when you're the best player, now know how to be a good leader with your teammates. There's a lesson in all of it if you're a good coach, if you're a good mentor. But if you're about the wrong reasons, then you're going to go about things a different way. So let's hop back into talking the programs and teams and talent. Excited about this one, Huff. Flightline. We got our guy Tim Williams coming up from the LA area. He has a plethora of talent. And I know for this weekend, he's got some guys that are already the established dudes. And he also has some young guys that are going to be that kind of next generation of recruits that start getting offers this summer, are going to be the guys merging over the next year or two. Talk a little bit about the Flightline program and kids.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Tim is, shout out to him. Just is really he and Travion Beck, who he runs the program with, a couple of guys that I covered back in the day. Tim played at Long Beach Poly, Travion played at St. John Bosco. So those guys know what elite talent's like. And there's been some guys that Tim has told me about early on that people didn't really know about, and then bam, all of a sudden those guys were starting to get recruited. And so when he's talking about some of the young DBs that he's got, I'm listening. Jalen Flowers being one of them. Jalen Flowers had a clip that went viral over the weekend at the OT7 event down in Dallas, had a one-handed interception. This is a guy that I know that he's been saying he's a 28, so he's a freshman, just finished his freshman year, or he's finishing his freshman year. But this is a name that we definitely need to know out of the Southland. And their quarterback, Aiden Edwards, out of Tustin High School, already got a slew of offers. Tustin's one of the most loaded teams in Southern California, in Orange County, that's not in the Trinity League. I believe they've got something like, they just had one of their linebackers commit to Texas. They've got a bunch of dudes on the defensive side of the ball, but Aiden Edwards is this offensive guy. And, it's funny when you think Tustin, I mean, we're going to make you feel old, TB, because this is your era. Tustin was known for running the ball.
Deshaun Foster.
Deshaun Foster.
Deshaun Foster.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden they're chucking the rock, and it's funny because Deshaun went back to a game there this season when they were retiring his number and he was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and he probably tripped out at how long the game went because they were throwing the ball. Well, Aiden Edwards is that guy at quarterback, Blake Long, who we got to see in LA a couple of weeks ago. Kingston Fatu is a kid that I saw at the Polynesian Bowl Combine and Showcase about 3 weeks ago. He's a 2029, so he's an eighth grader right now, but grown ass man right here. And it is a kid that's going to be a big time national name in the 29 class. So very eager to see what Tim's got in store this coming weekend.
Funny story, in college, I was a backup most of my career. I have a game against USC, come off the bench, Carson Palmer, all them. I lead us to a victory, feeling great. Start against UCLA the next week down at their place in the Rose Bowl, and go in there and have a pretty good game. We get smacked, but there was a running back that happened to rush for 301 yards against us. I mean, bonkers. And his name was Deshaun Foster. And I had to sit there on the sideline and watch it. And he and I had taken a visit out of high school to Arizona State together. So we went back to the recruiting days. But to watch him in person was like, it was hard because I'm playing this game, but I'm also a fan of the game. And not many times was I fanboy while I was competing, but hard not to be. How
But
good
it's
he
funny
was,
too.
big, fast, physical, all the traits.
It's funny you mentioned that because you beat Carson Palmer, like you said, the week before, who won the Heisman Trophy the following year. Deshaun was the front runner for the Heisman Trophy that year until he got suspended, which in 2025, if I told
Right.
2020, 2001 person, he got suspended for borrowing a car from an actor in Hollywood, but he was the front runner for the Heisman that ultimately Eric Crouch won. Well, 4 years before that, I went to the best high school football game I've ever been to, and that was the Santa Margarita Tustin Championship game where Carson Palmer beat Deshaun
Mm.
Foster, and Carson Palmer had the benefit he only had to play offense. Deshaun Foster played every single snap that game at running back and at DB, and now Carson Palmer's back at Santa Margarita as the head coach. Deshaun Foster's the head coach at his own alma mater, and we're talking to a guy who beat one
Mm.
and the other one lost to the other one the next week, and now he's
Yeah.
one of these guys. I mean, life is a full circle. Anthony, see, I
Yes.
don't
Deshaun,
understand
I
that
still see
this
him
turns into
in
like a
my
sports
nightmares.
bar, like just bringing up random college
Yeah.
football from 25 years ago.
Yeah, hey, like you said, full circle, and it's pretty
I love it. Anthony, are you entertained? As Russell Crowe says, are you entertained?
awesome. Very.
Um, Huff, I want to mention a couple programs. We got Central Coast is going to make their first appearance in our circuit this year. They're out of Morgan Hill, I believe. Gonna mention a couple of these other programs. Some of them are new and I haven't seen, and I love this because I like giving them a shout out. And then if they end up doing something, then we'll follow up and do more and talk about them again. We got the Vineyard Outlaws out of Napa, and I was talking to their coach. They're starting a new program. It's a youth team. Actually, no, they're a let's see. Yeah, they are a youth team. It's a middle school team, but the coach mentioned it's the first program really out in the Napa area. Their kids had to travel. Brock Bowers, he was a KT prep kid. So they're excited to build that program up and really get that and keep it homegrown for some of the kids. We got the Underdogs Football Foundation. We got RDE Productions. They're out of Redwood City. Bruin Elite out of Shingle Springs, California. We got Rise Above. They're a Merced team. We've had a couple programs out of the Merced area. My shout out to Theo, my college roommate at City College of San Francisco, out of Merced's finest. I'm excited to see this program, Bishop Manogue out of Reno, Nevada. They're bringing a middle school team. Excited to see them. Our middle school division is going to be super competitive. We got 8 teams in that division. We got Team Lillard coming out of Portland, Oregon. Rashad Carter bringing that group down. Houston Lillard, if the Lillard name sounds familiar, he's Dame's brother, started their program in Portland, Oregon, and they really grew it to one of the powerhouses in the Northwest. And now they've expanded back to where Houston was from in Oakland. So they've got a new program now based out of Oakland as well. So Team Lillard and the brand expanding, but excited to see our guy Huff, Rashad Carter. He's a stud, was a really good college player, NFL. I think he
Don't
was
mess
with
with me,
the
Rashad.
Ravens. Is that right, Huff? That
Don't mess with me, Rashad.
you said what?
I said, don't mess with me, Rashad. No more petty text.
Uh-oh.
No, it's funny because I want to go back to the Vineyard Outlaws. First of all, that might be the coolest name because it's all about being where your feet are, right? That's a phrase that we hear all the time, and
Yep.
there is no better branding than being from the wine capital of the United States and calling yourselves the Vineyard Outlaws, but more importantly, being sponsored by a couple of
Yeah.
wine. It's like that's elite sponsorship. I mean, if you guys want to bring some bottles of Sauvignon Blanc that I don't know if they brew it or make them there, I can bring one to my wife to justify being gone for the next 2 months. That'd be cool too. But it's funny because you mentioned Brock Bowers. I went up to a game his junior year, and I'll never forget talking to him after the game in 2019. He had just gotten an offer from Notre Dame in Michigan. And I'm watching the game with one of your good buddies, Marcus Tuiasosopo, who at the time was the Cal offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, sorry, the tight ends coach at Cal. And he's recruiting Brock. And second play of the game, he takes like a 90-yard sweep to the house for a touchdown. And I remember going up to him after the game and asking him, like, hey, so talk about the new offers from Michigan and Notre Dame. I'm like, yeah, keep in mind I'm in Napa. The last thing I really wanted to do is go to a high school football game when you've got some good breweries there in Napa. The Roots were actually playing at a show up there. But I remember Brock said, yeah, Notre Dame and Michigan both want me to play defense. And that's how, bad sometimes schools can get when it comes to evaluating. They don't go to Napa. And now, Brock Bowers has made sure that if you got any kind of potential out of Napa, you're going to get recruited. And, would have probably been the rookie of the year had it not been for Jaden Daniels last season. But imagine telling the future two-time Mackey Award winner, yeah, we think you're going to be an outside linebacker, only to watch you become maybe a devastating pass catcher in college football over 2 to 3 years period. Oh,
Yeah,
and
it's
going
wild.
back to Bishop Manogue too. They're the defending state champions, I believe, in the 5A level in Nevada. 6A is pretty much dominated and owned by Bishop Gorman, but Manogue, based in Reno, really good program at the high school level. Our buddy Joey Thomas, former coach in Seattle, who was, speaking of high school coaches at the time, who embraced 7-on-7. How many times did Garfield High School's team
Yep.
play as just the high school team in
Yep.
tournaments? And now Joey's the defensive backs coach at Bishop Manogue. His son Joey the third, two-time MVP at a Neighbor Strong Showcase, plays at Manogue. So a good youth program there that will be a part of a really good state championship contending program.
Yeah, and it's cool to see these programs travel, and we're going to be in Sacramento in May, and so it'll be fun to have some teams from Nevada coming to that as well, and it's fun to see all these different programs and get to travel around and watch programs. There's programs we know now that are powerhouses that we saw the first year, and they just were, hey, we're just trying to get established, we're just trying to build a name, we're trying to help kids in the area. I hear that so much from people, and it's awesome because they do. It genuinely allows kids to get more reps. It brings some attention to it. And all it takes is a Brock Bowers. And now all of a sudden that area is known for that. And so people say, hey, you don't want to miss out on the next Brock Bowers. And that's how this works. So it just takes one to change it and get it going. So respect to anybody that starts a program, gets an area going and reps their area. I respect that because it's hard to do. And there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of pushback. When it's a lot easier to walk a path that's been carved out and paved than it is to go out into the woods and, carve it and build it yourself. So shout out to these programs for doing that. Huff, let's talk about a couple programs, NorCal-based programs. Let's go with the Lock and let's go with Deliberate Training.
Yeah, the Lock, based out of the Turlock area. Quarterback Scout Silva, one of the more dynamic freshman quarterbacks in California in 2028. I got a chance to see them at the KT Prep Avery Strong tournament. I believe they made it to the championship game before they lost to KT Prep. But Scout Silva is their signal caller. And then you said TMP, right? That was the other one you said, Beria?
Well, we'll go ahead. Go with TMP and then we'll go to Deliberate Training.
Oh, Deliberate Training, yeah. Deliberate Training, shout out to the Amoco Bros that are, started DT in the San Jose, kind of the greater San Jose area, and now both are coaching at the collegiate game, but still have ties. They've got some guys that are obviously worth watching. They've had a couple of players over the last few years that have gone on and gotten recruited. So they're always a competitive team and usually a team that makes it to the Final Four of these tournaments.
Anthony, you're from that area. Are you familiar with either of those programs? Have you seen him? Are you looking forward to seeing him? What are your thoughts? To put you on the spot, we haven't talked any notes or anything.
Yeah, no worries. I do know of Deliberate Training because I know a couple of the coaches that are over there, and we have some mutual coaches that we've both worked with. When I was coaching at Foothill College, Coach Brandon Younger kind of tied me in with some of those guys and was able to introduce me to some of them. So his name is Coach Yada. I'm excited to really see them because I haven't really been to seen any of their 7-on-7 stuff. I know a lot of their personal training stuff. I know some players that train with them in the off season, but I'm excited to kind of see what they bring to the tournament because I've heard a lot of things. But this tournament would be my first opportunity to actually see what they put together in a competitive manner.
So I'll tell a funny story. Last year, Deliberate Training is in our LA tournament, and we're on the field, and sometimes it gets crowded, and I got to kind of move people back, and there's kids and there's chaos, and I'm starting to get frustrated, and really get frustrated. And I talk to my guy, I'm like, man, man, man. So finally, I get to a point where I'm feeling it come in, and I turn to just like literally scream and start cussing, like back to Eva, and I turn around and and it's Kyle Shanahan because his son was playing on Deliberate Training at the time. So yeah, I chose wiser. Decided not to scream at an NFL coach and tell him to get the F off the field. That would have gone viral for all the wrong reasons. But yeah, it was cool seeing him walk in. I was at admissions too when he walks in, and he comes in. He's got his crew, and he comes in there, and I had asked him, a question, and he's asking his guys, and then just pulls out a wad of hundreds, and he's just, he's paying for his guys to get in and goes. It was pretty cool. But I felt for him. He's sitting up in the stands too, and what that life must be like. I've been, have a lot of our tournaments. We had Richard Sherman out there, helping coach some of the teams back in the day, or work with them. And I remember watching him. He couldn't go 4 steps without people wanting a picture, and so you'd feel for him because you're like, man, they just, they're going, and people want a picture. They don't want to be mean, but they got to keep moving. So he'd always be like, hey, walk with me, take it, let's go. But Kyle trying to sit up in the stands and be incognito, but then there was just a line. It was like a row of ants just going down the stairs of people wanting to get pictures. And I feel for them. It's hard, but of course, someone's excited. They want to go take a picture. I don't fault them, but that's tough. You want to be famous, you want to be rich, you want all these things, but it's a trade out too, and your ability to just kind of walk around on a daily and not deal with that type of stuff. So yeah, let's a couple other programs I want to give shout outs to. We've got NDO, Never Ducking Opportunity, out of Fresno. This is a really good program out of that Fresno area. They're bringing a 12U and a 15U team. Excited to see them. I'm excited. I think in the future, we've got some things in store to potentially get out to the Fresno area for a tournament as we get more established in this area. I mentioned Lillard coming down with their two, the Portland program and Oakland program. We've got high intensity. We've got Alec, my guy Alec, Anthony, our guy Alec. He runs high intensity Bay Area. They came down to our LA tournament, do a really good job. They've got 2 teams in this weekend's tournament, freshman and high school division. They also have the girls that we're going to get to in a sec. And Alec has been instrumental in helping us get established on the ground there, get the girls going, learn the rules, learn the programs, just everything about it. So really good guy. Excited to see his program, see his boys and girls in the tournament this weekend. We have Legacy, a 10U team. I'm excited. We don't talk much about 10U, but excited to see them, a new program coming in. We're going to see them get in and compete. They, it's interesting when you talk to youth coaches, they all have a lot of studs, so we'll see. That's the cool thing about this. When we mention these programs, I'm big on credibility. So we don't, gas them up when we haven't seen them. We just mention them. I like giving shout outs. And then now, hey, spotlight's on you. Now, how do you perform? It's hard if you perform, but no lights on you, no one sees it. So we'll put the light on you and now go perform. You say you want attention and eyes on, here you go. So excited to see Legacy and few of these other programs. So
I will say this,
kind of hit the game with some of these.
Yeah, I'll say this about high intensity Bay Area.
Go ahead.
You're going to see the sweetest, beautiful mullet you will ever see on the head of one person, on my boy Colton Hyder. out of Valley Christian High School in San Jose. That thing is a absolute masterpiece, work of art. To give you a little bit behind the window, the national recruiting team at 24/7 Sports, our group chat, our avatar was Quinn Ewers in high school with the mullet. And then there was a young man somewhere down south, of course, who had a mullet that overshadowed Quinn Ewers, and that became the avatar. And I told Colton when I first saw the mullet last fall that he needed to aspire to have a mullet that was worthy of being the avatar. And he's been growing. I've seen it about 4 times this spring, and he's great at every event. But that mullet is getting closer to avatar status. And so, if you want to see, something that you don't necessarily see in the Bay or in Northern California or Silicon Valley, you got to see that sweet, beautiful mullet that Colton Hyder proudly wears. Oh, and he's good at football too. He catches.
I mean, I remember at Root Sports, we'd be doing our, in studio stuff and college football games. And Brad Adam, awesome guy, but his hair was, well, I mean, he had that thing gelled and put down. There was not a strand out of place ever. And they even created a Twitter account for Brad Adams' hair. And in the way you're describing this kid, I feel like something like that might have to be in the works. We might have to get something going. So I'm excited now. That's worth the price of admission just to come in and see that thing. Not many can pull those off, and especially in California. So you get that going. You have a different kind of swag, that's for sure.
You got to work hard to have that, and you got to have the confidence to pull it off, like you said. I mean, that's one of those things where if you're gonna rock it, you got to back it. And I'll tell you what, man, he backs it.
Love it. Okay, well, Huff, we're going to hop into Anthony talking here on some of the girls' flag, and then we'll get to your favorite part, the predictions, game predictions, score predictions, champion predictions, MVP predictions. Hopefully, no technical difficulties. Always tends to happen exact time. Yep. We'll see if we get it figured out. But Anthony, we got our first girls' flag tournament. You've been very instrumental. We mentioned Alec and you getting on the ground here. So talk a little bit about the girls teams that are participating. I think it's 6 of them, maybe 7 of them. Just some of the programs. We'll do an after tournament podcast, you, Alec, and I, to talk about the girls and how it played out. But just talk a little bit about the programs and the area and your experience and kind of jumping into these waters.
Yeah, so we have right now 7 programs fully committed to participating this weekend. They're High Intensity, End Zone, Stanford, Camp, Stag Activated, and DT Ladies. Every single one of these programs, I'm excited to go out there and see. Alec and Brendan from NorCal Flag have both been really, really instrumental in helping put this thing together. And I think the biggest thing when it comes into the girls' flag world, from what I'm seeing, is making sure that it's done the right way. And that's why I'm so excited for it, is because, 7-on-7 Association has always had a reputation for doing things the right way. And I think that's what's creating a lot of buzz for the girls' flag world, is being able to come in, hold a really high quality event and good experience, as far as making sure the rules are done the right way, making sure that everybody's taken care of, making sure that all the teams are coming in and getting an opportunity to do a pool play and bracket play, and a lot of those things have been very important in making sure that we're doing things that also coincide with a lot of these teams doing regionals. So a lot of these girls flag teams are getting ready to go to regional stuff for the Seahawks, and there was one for the Niners not too long ago, and they're preparing for stuff like that. So this tournament really gives them an opportunity to kind of go out there, not only showcase themselves, but be able to grow their sport, be able to prepare themselves to get ready for these tournaments. And that has been the biggest motivator I've seen from a lot of these teams. And a lot of the coaches and I can't even really single any out. I think every single one of the coaches I've talked to, they really just care about giving the girls an opportunity, right? A lot of the girls, they want to have the opportunity to do the same stuff that, the boys are doing in the 7-on-7 world. And the fact that they get an opportunity to do that is something that they are really excited about. And, the coaches are highly motivated to being able to, give their girls that opportunity. And, they're excited and they're doing it all for the kids. So it should really go really smooth, especially with, 7-on-7 Association, running the event.
Yeah, and it's fun because we built out the systems to, just as we expanded from our 7-on tournaments to the 5-on-5 linemen. Last weekend we did a tournament, had 22 5-on-5 lineman teams from the 10U division all the way up to high school. And it's going to be nice to be able to add the girls division to it as well. And as we do it, the cool thing is it's that vibe, it's that atmosphere that you could come in there. The girls are going to come in and see the boys 7-on-7 tournament going on one field, and they're going to be on the other, and vice versa. The boys will see the girls, and what a cool atmosphere for people to come in. We'll have the music going, we'll have the food and drinks out there, we'll have all the branding, and I think that's what you're talking about, Anthony, is that we want that smooth flow and that experience for everyone. And I keep hearing this with the girls. I keep hearing it is they just want to be treated like the boys. They just want to go compete. Like, don't talk powder puff, just talk football. And I'm excited for that because this is it's totally new for me. I have no clue. I'm a field supervisor for our 7-on football to make sure things run smoothly. Rules. The girls, we've got real refs that know all their rules, and I'm going to be out there and just be a sponge, learning, soaking it in, and I know you are too. And I know there's a play. We're going to expand these more into our circuit. You're going to be on the ground there, growing it out, and have already been building that foundation and network with coaches and programs to make sure that we learn from the 7-on world of all the good, but where it started kind of falling off the rails, and make sure with the girls that everything is set on the right course with a good foundation, and really grow this out the right way. So Anthony, I appreciate you being on here, and you've been instrumental not only in the girls tournament, helping get that set up and going, but also in the boys tournament, just being on the ground there. So it's been a blessing to get connected with you. Look forward to spending some time with you this weekend, and running a great event, and then talking afterward about future plans of what you're going to do, what we're going to do. And Huff, as always, fun to have you on here. I want to get to the predictions, but
I need to hear what the concession situation's like first before.
Yeah. That was
That's a prerequisite.
yes. There's food trucks, concessions, things like that are underrated in the experience level of these events, and what you have, and what's offered. This is a great setup and facility, and I know also Anthony has a great facility over at Leland too, for future venue for events as well. So I'm excited to get down in this area, and have a fun tournament, see a lot of programs we've seen before, see some new programs, build out some new relationships. We've got other people coming in that we're going to connect with to talk future plans about things in the area and beyond. So should be a really fun weekend. Actually head down there tonight to get down there. We'll be over there setting up tomorrow. So should be a fun weekend. If you're in town, come out, check it out. We'll have the girls going in the afternoon, sometime in that probably 10 to 3 o'clock time frame. The boys will be going all day Saturday. We'll finish up Sunday probably at some point around the 3 o'clock time frame, so people can get back to the airport and get going. So Huff, as far as predictions, we can just go through. How about this? We'll try this. As technical difficulties for some reason, we'll do a rapid fire. I'll ask you H division, you give your prediction, we'll go on to the next one. It's like that 30-second thunder round. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, so it's working right now. It's amazing. Like, the volume works, the screen, everything. So we're going to start out with 10U. Huff, your prediction for 10U, go. Okay. Didn't hear that, but I bet it was a great prediction. Let's try 12U. Let's see if it's going. You ready? Go.
Easy. Light work will be done. The winner and the trophy will be walking away from.
See what I'm saying, Anthony? It's just crazy. It's like right when it gets to it on the prediction, I think we're going to skip the rest because we got to go back to the truck and see where we're falling short here technically. So Huff can tweet them out later.
Yeah.
Huff, you can put it on your socials. I'm sure your bosses at
My social media account is at Greg Biggins. You can find it there.
Oh, we'll post it online. Greg's going to be getting all these DMs like, why would you pick them over us? My son has been slept on for 3 years. Oh, yeah. And if you want ratings, you want stars, anything, at Greg Biggins.
Traditional spelling.
All right, fellas. Well, hey, that was fun getting on here with you guys. Fun getting on here with you and spending some time. Look forward to getting down to our 3rd annual 7-on-7 Battle in the Bay, and our 1st annual and first ever girls 5-on-5 flag tournament. Thanks to the man, Anthony Herrera. Huff, appreciate you being on here. Fellas, we're tapping out. We'll see everybody this weekend.
Look forward to it. Appreciate you guys.